Hello and welcome to Instinct Marketing Presents Business Casual. I'm Zach Leknitsky, and tonight we have three absolutely phenomenal guests for you. And I know I say that every episode, and it's still true. We're going to bring them in here right now. So while we're doing that, same business as usual. How's everybody doing out there? How you guys feeling? Having a good day? Everybody's connecting right about now. We should be with you any old second. Jamie, can you hear me? Mark, can you hear me?
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I can hear you.
Excellent.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Hold on, let me just...
And there's Queen. Hello, Queen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm phenomenal. Thank you for asking. Just waiting for Mark's video to come through. Okay. And I think we are almost there. While we're waiting for Mark, Queen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I just had to drive my son to the room.
Sorry, Mark, say that again?
Hold on, sorry. Landscape or portrait mode?
That's landscape, I think. Oh, that doesn't really matter, if I'm being honest.
It doesn't?
Yeah, Jamie's on portrait, I'm on landscape, Queen's on landscape. It's whatever you like, whatever's easiest.
Oh, should we?
It's all good.
I think...
Mark, you sideways now, so do it the other way.
So you want it the other way?
Yeah, it's because you came out sideways.
You're sideways.
All good. We're here. We're upright. We're upright. It's all good. Okay. So welcome everybody to Business Casual. We want to say thanks to everybody for coming onto the show today. We want to thank you for everybody in the chat. Please do throw some love out there. I can tell you right off the bat, Alyssa, by the way, Queen is there. She's giving you a shout out right from the get-go. So Alyssa is your number one fan right now. And obviously
my baby.
Obviously the chat box is an indicator of the popularity contest. So everybody, let everybody know who your favorite is. And yeah, so we're going to get started right about now. I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves in my favorite segment, which I like to call, Who Are You? And What Are You Doing Here? Okay, Queen, hey, why don't you tell us who you are and what are you doing here?
So my name is Queen Angel. I'm here to represent for Hustlers Feast, which is a brand that I started a year and a half ago for entrepreneurs and hustlers. So I was told by a friend about this platform, and she was like, this would be really good for you. I think you should, contact Zach. This is the guy who did my interview. And, so I'm here to, discuss what I do and go forward from there.
Fantastic. Her friend, by the way, as a matter of interest, was the very same Alyssa in the kitchen. She's a private chef out in LA, which is where Queen actually is.
Yeah, Los Angeles.
For those who didn't see the show, Alyssa was the one who's very nonchalant, like, oh yeah, I worked in Wolfgang Puck's restaurant. I've met Gordon Ramsay. No big deal, though. No big deal.
Yeah, she's very cool. She's very chill.
She's very chill.
Yeah.
Okay, Jamie, so tell us, who are you and what are you doing here?
How's everybody doing? My name is Jamie. I'm a chef. I've been a chef for 20 years. Over the last few years, I started my own catering company based in the GTA. It's called Barbacoa Boyz with a focus on Caribbean fusion food.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Amazing. Alyssa, sorry, not Alyssa. Queen is coming to us also from LA. So for all those in America, the GTA is the Greater Toronto area. Yep. Just in case we have an American audience, which I really hope we do. Okay, so Mark, tell us, who are you and what are you doing
How's
here?
it going? Originally, guys, I'm a designer, but now I make content on IGTV. My name is Prince Mark Anthony. Follow me right now. The goal from the beginning was to build a platform, and the end goal is to be back into designing, right? But right now, I'm just building a platform by content creating, and I just do style videos and store reviews. You guys should check out my IG page right now, Prince Mark Anthony, and I would appreciate the follow.
What is it? Prince Mark Anthony?
Prince, sorry about that. Prince Mark Anthony, sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
No worries. So definitely check everybody out. Check out all our guests. Please, for everybody out there, please do share the video out. It's very important because only you can prevent low view counts. Okay, so we're going to get started. Right off the first thing we're going to do is...
The link isn't working. Is there another way to join?
Let me resend you the link just in case. This is the one I've been blasting out, but give me 1 second. There you go. Try that. See if that works. But yeah, in the meantime, we are going to say, first thing we want to do, we'll start with Jamie this time. So tell us about your business and what you do and, what makes you stand out as a business.
I make food. I'm a chef. It's awesome. I can't complain. I started when I was 16 working at a franchise restaurant downtown Toronto, right by the Sky Dome, which is now the Rogers Center, working at a very busy restaurant. I spent the next 20 years honing my craft. I went to chef school for 2 years in my chef basic advanced. Worked my way up, working a lot of mom and pop's place franchises, and then even some fine dining places that are pretty well known in Toronto. I kind of got to the point where I had just had two young kids, wanted to spend more time with them, but also wanted to take more control of my destiny. So I decided to start my own catering company. I wanted to be in control of what I was doing. And that is how it went. And then we just started, jumped right in, and we're building slowly. We're now in our second year, and it's getting busier and busier. And then COVID happened.
Yeah, that old COVID thing. Well, don't worry, we're going to talk all about that.
Yeah, definitely.
I like when somebody chooses a career path and then over time just develops the skill set and eventually goes, you know what, I can do this myself. It's always a great experience to hear somebody do that. No one's ever quite paid me to, play video games all day, even though I'm really good at it.
I've tried. I've also tried.
We can talk about that for hours. That's an entirely different show.
Yeah.
Okay, Queen, tell us all about your business and how you got started.
Okay, so I've been in management for like 13 years. So I actually started in management. The space that I sort of created for myself was more so like the internet, like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and just working with brands and people that had like a career online. I managed Watch Jazzy, comedian, and I still manage her. It's just been kind of weird right now with COVID because there's really not much we can do on the road because majority of the things that she do is like involves travel and appearances and stuff like that. But yeah, I started in management. And with Hustlers Feast, how that came about was I noticed the lack of mentorship in my industry, especially being a woman, a Black woman at that. So I just kind of like created a space where it was like something I wish I had, coming up in the industry, getting tips on, things that you would want to know being an entrepreneur, motivational quotes, learning about credit, just different things that I didn't know like 13 years back. So yeah, I've been in what I've been doing for 13 years. How I end up in LA, I got an opportunity with Slip and Slide. They had an artist here that I was managing for a short period of time. The how that kind of came about was artist development. So helping them with their social media, their content. And it was a lot harder back then because Instagram wasn't as popular like it is now back then. So everything had to basically be on TV and, you had to have budgets and things like that. So that got me in LA. What kept me here was the other opportunities that, came after managing that artist and just kind of like people seeing my skill set on how to like organize and brand. So, I'm still here 8 years later. I'm a mom to a 5-year-old and I love it.
I think that's what I really like about this story is that you realized that there was a gap in a mentorship space that you then wanted to create that you wish you had. Because that's very similar to how I started Instinct Marketing is that I saw all these businesses, the small businesses, doing sort of not necessarily as elevated marketing as they could. And I came from big agency background and I just thought to myself, well, why can't these guys do that? So I created a platform where they could come to me and get those elevated ideas from and then get help, even if that's what they want to do. That's actually, Mark and I are actually discussing something similar, but we're not going to give too much away. So Mark, tell us about how you got started.
So long story short is I've been a creative for my whole life, basically, right? And what I really started to do is listen to the feedback of those around me. People would really encourage me. They would say, I can be a stylist. They would, buy products from me. Like, it was very encouraging. But like what I've basically done is basically shifted the direction of how I create a following. And from before I was releasing products, now I'm releasing content. So it's the same thing. Like the end of the day, what I'm going to be doing is going to be selling products at the end of the day. You know what I mean? But like as of now, what really got us started is people. People really encourage me. Like even everything when I do, people always love it. So like the people has really brought me here, and I'm grateful for all the encouragement that people has done.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, people are the reasons why we kind of do everything we do, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Purpose.
everybody gets started in one capacity. Jamie wants to feed people, and Queen wants to help people grow, and all those kinds of things. I wanted to help people elevate their marketing. It's just without people, there's no business. Unless, of course, we get robots, and that's a whole other deal.
Right. Coming.
So we are living in very strange times these days. The way I like to describe it is that we're living in a movie written by Stephen King and being directed by Quentin Tarantino.
He's my favorite director, by the way.
He's amazing. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I don't care who's. I love that movie. Not even gonna. Okay. Don't let me go down that road.
I could talk about Quentin Tarantino like for hours, from his Kill Bill movie series down to Pulp Fiction. I could talk about what I like about each film, but let's move on.
Yeah, Quentin Tarantino, please come on my show. Anyway, so my question to you is, in this movie that we are living in right now, I just want to know how you guys all stay positive, because it can be hard sometimes for anybody to stay positive and living through all this madness. So within your business, how do you manage to maintain that positivity so that you don't slow down and you don't get stagnant? Mark, let's start with you this time.
We're going to start with me. Personally, I have used COVID as an advantage. We have to learn how to use every obstacle. Anything, we have to see the good in everything. That's one thing, to have a business mindset. And from before, I was doing reviews in stores. But now what I'm doing is basically clothing hauls. So I didn't let the stores being closed stop me from growing. And I've grown even more than when I first started before COVID. So I took advantage of the opportunity because everything is online. Everyone has time to be viewing things, right? So viewership is up. So I just decided to make clothing haul. I didn't let COVID really affect me. Obviously stores are closed, but I'm really, really out there making content. I'm making the ideas, my creative ideas has been flowing a little bit more better, I would say, as of now, because it's I'm not limiting myself. So it's more ideas are being sprung out. You know what I mean? So what I would say is that COVID didn't really limit me, but I could say it did at the same time, because there is no stores to review. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's necessity is the mother of invention. I mean, that's why we have the show. That I realized that the small businesses around me were struggling in one way or another, and so they needed a platform to come and promote themselves. And I wouldn't have done that had it not been for COVID. Now, I'm not saying COVID's a good thing. We should be hyped up about that at all. But it's, as you said, turn your disadvantage into an advantage. Okay, Queen, tell us, how do you and your business stay positive in the current climate?
I think it actually, just Mark was saying, it sparked something for me as well, because I've always been busy, on the road, traveling. The paradigm shift, I like to call it, allowed me a reset, and I was able to revisit things that I wasn't paying attention to. I also was able to finish out ideas that I kind of had on pause for a long time. And I got to learn a lot about myself and other things that I wanted to learn and always wanted to, to be involved with. So during this time, that actually helped me become more health conscious. The innovative part of me, just kind of stayed alive and I was able to use that and kind of push it into Hustlers Feast. And now I have an online store that I launched last week called Hustlers Feast University. And I did a soft launch, so I can have a place to put ebooks and kind of sell information about things that I've been learning and things I always knew, but just never had the time to kind of sit down and organize into an ebook. So that I appreciate the paradigm shift for. It also kind of helped me figure out my potential and how I can help other people and still make money. So it's I feel people kind of demonize help when it's, when you attach a dollar sign to it. But I think it's more of a way where you can, live with your passion, and then, paid for serving some sort of purpose. So right now I feel I'm creating purpose with my passion, because Hustlers Feast has been that main thing for me. So it's kind of allowing me to, I'm not saying that I'm not interested in other things anymore, but this has been really keeping me going throughout COVID. So that's what COVID-19 did for me during this time.
Oh, that makes sense. And I think a thing that you said, which is really important for people out there to hear, is that, when people demonize help for money, I can tell you in my experience, people, when I hear I'm in marketing, like, oh my God, please help me. And I say, okay, well, these are my rates. And they go, oh, you know what? I think I got it. I got it under control.
Right.
And so
I don't think making your passion pay, like if you're being paid for your passion, like I feel like if other people understood why people prefer passionate work versus work that they're not so happy about, if they understood like like the meaning behind that, then they will understand. Just like Jamie, he cooks and things like that. I'm pretty sure that's some form of passion, but he's not going to go out there and give away free food. Like he still has to make a living. He still have to just I think just teaching people what purpose versus passion means. More and more these days, people will kind of like start to understand, okay, she does this for a living, but she's passionate about it versus, oh, she's just trying to make money off of this. And, I thought she was passionate about it, but she asked me to pay her. So people kind of like, don't understand what it really is. Cause I always say passion is me. That's for me. But purpose is for other people, what you can do for other people, what you can leave behind, how you can affect other people's lives. So, right now I feel like I'm mastering that.
honestly, I think that's a really good thing. Passion versus purpose. I think that's a really, really great thing that we can take away from this. And maybe I'll turn that into an Instagram quote. I don't know if you've seen the diagonal line of quotes there. So Jamie, tell us how you and the business have managed to stay positive in this madness.
Definitely for me, it's a different scenario as I do make food, and with the restrictions going on right now, lockdown, quarantine, people aren't able to meet in groups of more than 5, which almost nullifies my business. And I've seen a drastic, almost complete drop off in sales. Right at the same time, I kind of saw this coming. When I started my business, it was almost too. I didn't want to go with the typical way of opening a hospitality food service business. I'd been doing it for so many years and I've seen so many issues, and it was definitely about solving those problems, right? So right off the bat, starting my own business from home, I have a different ability right now where I'm not incurring the costs of a rental or a brick and mortar as most people are, and they're stressing and they are really worried about that turnover. Whereas I've kind of modeled this business, slower growth, focus on passion, where I can spend that time, focus on the individual, the group, or the party, and put on a superior product. With saying that now, as COVID's kind of erased everything, it's definitely given me a time to have almost a deeper meditation, go back, review, and establish new directives, new goals for the new year, right? I had I had a great plan for how I was going to start my second year of business with no idea that this act of God was going to happen. Nobody saw this coming, right? Mm-hmm. I did see it developing, but it also there was nothing really I could do about it, right? So even right now, as I've seen those sales drop and I'm reestablishing and rethinking my game plan, it's given me time to spend more time with the family, things around the house, and also just be patient in my thought process of what I want to actually do with my business. So as much as it kind of seems like a negative for the food sales and hospitality industry, it's given me an opportunity to kind of, redesign and refocus that laser beam to what exactly I want to do.
Right. And so, you're more thinking about the future rather than the next 10 minutes.
Exactly.
It's funny, a lot of people are talking about how they're spending more time with their family. I'm convinced that the decision to create a lockdown was conspired by my dad so that he could have me and my sister home all the time for every meal.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, he's having time of his life. Everybody's home. No one can go out or hang out with their friends. It's us and the dog. And he's like, yeah, okay, I'm good with this.
This is what he wants.
About the quarantine.
Yeah, exactly. You got to take the positivity where you can. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about is brand. And it's a thing we often talk about on the show because I feel it's a very important thing to discuss. So for those of you out there, the way we define brand is your key adjectives or your core values related to your business, how you describe your business, how you want your business to be perceived. One thing I forgot to mention, if you guys have any questions for anyone of the entrepreneurs here today, please do throw them in the chat. There will be a Q&A towards the end. So we are now going to talk about brand. Queen, why don't you start us and tell us about your brand?
Yeah, so I was hoping I'll go third, but
You can go third if you want. I'm very
No,
flexible.
okay. It's okay. So with the brand, the meaning of it just kept changing for me. And this is just me being transparent and honest. Like in the beginning, when I started the brand Hustlers Feast, it was supposed to be a social gathering for entrepreneurs, people like me who just probably won't get, like, we're kind of like left out, but we're still like in the in crowd. So it's like, all right, we can't have a seat at your table, but I'm going to create, you know, another table, and we can have a feast here. We can talk about opportunities. We can encourage each other. We can. So that's where the word feast come from. So it was, you know, supposed to be a social gathering during dinner time, private event once a year, and we just kind of like, you know, um, reward people for having a great year, recognizing managers and other entrepreneurs and things like that. So the meaning was to celebrate, you know, entrepreneurs no matter what level they were at. Now, I kind of like, you know, added something to it where it's like I want to also be a part of educating entrepreneurs and you know, helping change lives of entrepreneurs. So it may not be like the biggest thing. I may not have a scholarship program in place yet, but I feel like I can spark the mind of someone who can, or I can, you know, push someone to be like the next big thing. And I feel like if we had more people encouraging and pushing each other, then we wouldn't have so many questions, including doubt, you know, doubting our decisions to become entrepreneurs, doubting, you know, the risks that we take and if something doesn't work out, you know. So that's what the brand is now, you know, is educating and helping and just pretty much like, you know, being the safe place for mentorship.
I mean, I got to tell you, it's really great to hear that your brand sort of changed as you went. And, you know, over time, people feel when I'm doing a branding exercise with somebody, they think, oh my God, I've got to get this right. This is like my forever thing. And I say, no, like this can change. That's okay. Being flexible is one of the biggest things about owning a business. I mean, each of you has spoken about how the business has changed, even with COVID or anything else. And having that flexibility for everybody out there who's starting a business, it's okay if your brand changes. We had somebody on our first episode. She has an app, and the app started as a dating app, and it's evolved into a meditation app. And the two couldn't be more polar opposite. If she was like selling ice and is now selling fire. So the point is, it's okay if you don't get it right the first minute. It's okay if you don't get it right the second minute. Give it some time, you'll figure it out. Okay, Jamie, let's talk to us about your brand.
So yeah, Barbacoa Boyz. I kind of came up with that name from just kind of really digging deep into kind of my own heritage and my own identity. I was born in Canada, Toronto. I'm in an interracial marriage. My wife is Greek. She was also born here, but she comes from Greek heritage. My background is Jamaican. So even just using the melting pot that Toronto is, I mean, I grew up with Indian, Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, you name it, African, from all over the world, right? Throughout elementary school and high school. Using that, you know, that love, that experience of growing up with so many different people, where I've, being in Canada and then also having this Jamaican heritage, I kind of use Barbacoa Boyz because it is an ancient term for barbecue, where they would dig a pit, wrap some, you know, meat in banana leaves and cook it throughout the day. Mexican culture uses it very heavily. It's found all throughout the Caribbean and the South America, but it was very much a feast. It was time of sharing. It was about family, right? One of the hashtags I use in a lot of my Instagram posts is cooking to share. So when it comes to branding, it's all about the family, the passion, and the cooking, the sharing. Food is one of the most intimate things we do on this planet. I mean, we cook with our hands and then we put it in our mouth and we eat it, right? Everybody on this planet does it. And I don't know many people who don't like doing it. I try to use it as my brand and just try to reach people on an organic communal level and just being very true, honest, and talking with people. You'd be amazed at the connections you can make. So keeping true to that and then just keeping organic. I mean, when I started, I really thought I would just be selling a lot of chicken and ribs, but now as I'm going into it more, I'm understanding the history of, you know, the culture and the food, and we didn't eat that much meat, right? It was a lot of veggies. It was a lot of vegetables and greens and fruits and stuff like that. And even educating people on the history and stuff like that. And I guess we could talk about that later. Slavery plays a big role in that. But it all kind of comes full circle. And at the end of the day, it's definitely about cooking and eating and sharing. So that's definitely a big push for our brand.
We're definitely going to come back to that. We have a whole segment dedicated to that. But in terms of, the education concept of what we're eating, I guess you could call that eat-education.
So I'm going to take that one.
Please take it. It's free. Take it. This whole thing's a plug. Mark, talk to us about your brand before I make any more dad jokes.
It's always been about a positive influence amongst the young gentlemen growing up. I feel like there is no true pinnacle of a leader towards a lot of the young black men. They need to see that there's other ways other than, selling drugs. And I'm not saying necessarily you have to be a content creator. Sorry that I jumped right into that, guys, but that's one of my core values is that we really want to be a positive influence towards youth. And what I would say is that they just need they need to see something else. They can make apps. I want to create a facility where you can build, it's kind of similar to what she's doing, but this is future preference though. But that's you know what I mean? The main goal, to be honest, is to be a positive influence towards men and young men, period. Men are bombarded with a lot of cliches that we don't really need to live up to, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that men need to see. There's a way that men are supposed to be, and it's been written before all of us were born. But I don't want to get into that, but that's just one of my brand's values, to be honest. A positive influence towards the young men in general.
Okay, fantastic. As I say, we will definitely get to that. So the next question I have for you guys is, how did you validate or discover that there was a need for what you do? Because obviously, you start a business because you find there's a need for it. So where did you decide, oh my God, this is we need this? Okay, so who didn't start? Mark, we're going to start with you this time.
My biggest. Sorry, say that again. My biggest.
How did you determine that there was a need for what you create?
That's a good question. Well, with the content creator, because originally, right, like I told you guys, I'm a designer. But with the content creating, there is actually a niche for the market that I'm in, because I'm doing both at once. I'm reviewing stores and styling people, and it's kind of streetwear. I kind of do streetwear right now, to be honest. And I'm the only one that's doing it on Instagram. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but what I'm doing, I'm the only one that's doing it, legitimately. And I just want to grow big with it. But there is others that are doing it, but they're more specialized in particular things. I am specialized, but they're my platform is a little bit more broader at the same time, you know what I mean? But the idea was to build a platform, and that's what's going on right now. So my niche is I'm the only one that's doing what I'm doing right now. I'm reviewing stores, and I'm also I'm in everyone. I'm in every my foot's in every door in a way, but you know what I mean? Not exactly like that, but I can get views from anybody, sneakerheads, people that are into trends, people that are into I just get views from everybody. That's just the way how I feel I have a niche, because I'm for both markets in a way. I'm kind of merging them together, the sneaker lifestyle, in terms as in with the fashion, kind of merging it together. That's kind of what I'm doing. But anyways, that's yeah.
I get you. And listen, as I am one of the most fashion challenged people on the planet, yes. Anytime I once went into a shop, and this was years and years ago, and I was going to buy a shirt, and she's and the sales lady was like, hey, do you want to grab it? I was hold on, let me text to my girlfriend. And they all just laughed at me. And I was like, okay, well, I'm never saying that again in public.
Yeah, because because you texted?
Yeah, I was like, hold on, let me send her a photo right now. And they all just laughed at me. And then I
don't like when guys do that when they want it, because I work at a store too, but that's a whole different story. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm in there. Anyway.
Yeah, I help a lot of dudes out. It's all good.
What's it called? Okay. Queen, so how did you discover, because I know you mentioned it earlier, but how did you validate rather that there was a need for what you do?
I want to say validate.
Or discover.
Yeah, because I discovered it. I'm trying to figure out what's the nice way to say this, but there was I live in LA, in Hollywood, and there's a lot of people that think they're so like up
All that.
here, and people down here. Like it's just so divided. Even though it may seem like a united front, it's very divided. And it's not based on like color. It's more so like social, like class. So when I came up with Hustlers Feast, I was like, well, I'm gonna do something for me and my people. Like, you know, I want to do something for me and all my friends who are entrepreneurs doing their thing, and they can feel like they're at a like award show or you know, or a popular brunch, you know. And I didn't want it to be just like girls. I didn't want it to be just I wanted it to be like a mixed crowd. I wanted it to be like, you know, people who were already doing their thing and come in and mentor. So of course, you know, I was reaching out like to, well, I'm friends with people who are like doing like major things in the industry, and I wanted them to be like a part of it, so they can kind of like be like the mentorship that lacks in my industry, and help those who are looking to do things and be a part of something in this industry, which is entertainment. So I came up with that, but it was just so hard getting it off the ground in the beginning because the first is usually the hardest to get a sponsorship, and I secured a sponsor, but they weren't able to like pay for a lot of things that we needed assistance with, and then it was like too late to get other sponsors on board, so I had to cancel it. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to do it this year, and it kind of like, because of COVID, wasn't able to do social gatherings. So I was already like, okay, you know what, screw this. I don't even, you know, want to do any social gatherings right now. Think about it. And then a friend of mine, yes, Jules, she's actually in Miami, and she does like 1 a.m. radio. She does like a lot of different things. And she loved the Hustlers Feast concept, you know, and was like, why don't you just go live? You know, a lot of people can bring out a great audience. The people you know will bring out a great audience. You'll have like hundreds of views at a time. I mean, like live. So I think you should just do that and bring more exposure to Hustlers Feast until you can get to the point where you can do a social gathering. So that's how we ended up kind of like, you know, making it more virtual because of the paradigm shift that happened with COVID-19. So I discovered it over time, but I always knew that I wanted to create something for people who lack mentorship or who lack recognition. It's usually like, if you're like famous and rich, then you get recognized, but it's never the people who help them get there, like the managers, the producers, you know, the stylists. So I wanted to recognize those people along with the person in the front. So that's what, you know, Hustlers Feast was, you know, is, and I want to continue to push that agenda too. I'm still gonna have the social gathering, just not yet.
Okay, fantastic. I think that just the innovation and the shifting that you've done, you know, once you've identified that there was a need is really great. And, you know, Lexis Jane was saying, she's talking about the socioeconomic hierarchy in relation to what you were saying.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, Lexis. We have heaps of comments that we are going to touch on a little bit later. But yeah, so Jamie, tell me, how did you discover that there was a need for what? And Alyssa, we do see your question there. We will get to you. I do promise. Jamie, how did you discover there was a need for Barbacoa Boyz?
Just people need to eat all the time. People eat 3 meals a day.
I love eating.
Exactly, and most people I know love eating it. But when I mean, like I said, I've been a chef for a long time, and just looking at different avenues and ways to make money and control my own business. Understanding that, you know what, where I live in Ajax, there's a high density of restaurants, a lot of takeout places, a lot of franchises, a lot of, you know, box stores where you can go and get food all the time. But as much as there is that, there's very few options when it comes to a quality of a range, right? You can get your burger and your fries and your pizza any time of day, but you can't get a good quality piece of jerk chicken. Thinking about that, I was on Uber for a bit. Didn't work for me. We can talk about that later. But just also going with that idea of like, you know, keeping people fed and trying to put a different product out there, right? Staying, like I said earlier, being organic with it, always looking for something to innovate and do. One example is one restaurant I was working at, one of the dishes I put on the menu, Atkins Sulfur spring rolls, very popular. People liked it at all. It wasn't something that I had magically created by myself. It was something that somebody else had told me about. It wasn't too popular yet. Put it on the menu there, blew up very popular. I had other restaurants trying to come and get me just to come and be the chef there because of this one dish. It was, you know, it boosted my ego, but I'm also a very humble person at the same time. So I kind of took it in stride and said, you know what, let's just keep going with this. I'm doing something right? So just always trying to, you know, connect with the people on a different level. I don't try to, even with my Instagram account, if you guys will go on and see that, I don't really push what I'm selling.
What's your IG account?
It's my name, Barbacoa Boyz.
Okay.
Just Barbacoa
By the
Boyz.
way,
Yeah,
my IG is Prince Mark Anthony, guys. Follow
yeah,
me too,
I'll put it in the chat. Actually, I already put it in the chat on the live stream,
Yeah.
so you can see it in there. I'll put it in again. But I don't want it to just be a sales pitch. I don't want it to be a feed of just my menus and how much it costs and, hey, buy my food, this is what you need to do. Because I feel like the consumer and the customer nowadays are way more educated. We're so smart when it comes to purchasing power that a lot of people are looking for more than just that looks good and that looks tasty. They're looking for, why did he make it that way? How can I simulate that? And what's the story behind that? I mean, I was explaining it to this one younger chef. And I go, because he was trying to build an online presence. And I go, the first thing they're going to do after they see your picture and they like it is they're going to look for what else you did. Right. And if it's just a bunch of stuff, you posting your pictures of, here's my menu, come buy, you're not really creating an image. You're not really creating something that somebody can connect to. And nowadays, that's what it's about. It's really about connecting with somebody and seeing, you know, how they live their life. It's more than just thanks for the burger, right? They want to know what's behind the burger, because we can pretty much get a good burger at most places nowadays.
Right. I can tell you right now, if this is a very popular dish in my house. If you can make a Jamaican style matzo ball soup, I will be the first one there, and I will bring all my friends.
I'm gonna start working on it. That's a unique one. I haven't heard that one yet.
Oh man, I'm telling you, please, you can go on MasterChef with that. I'm telling you, they'll never see anything like that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. So we're about halfway through. So for anybody who just joined in, I just want to reintroduce everybody. First, we have Queen Angel. She is a talent and brand manager full time. However, she also owns a Hustler Feast, which is a platform for entrepreneurs to help build their brands and their company. We have Jamie Beeston, who is the owner and chef at Barbacoa Boyz, which is a catering company out in Ajax. And we have Mark Anthony, who is a content creator / fashion designer over on Instagram.
Follow me right now, Prince Mark Anthony.
Follow everybody right now. Just go follow all of us. Just do it.
Prince Mark Anthony, do it right now.
So if you could, anybody out there watching, if you haven't already done it, please could you share the video, share the stream, because it really helps out. Please follow everybody. And if you guys have any questions, we will be having a Q&A towards the end of the show. If you already throw some questions in the chat, thank you. They will be addressed. And so now we're going to move on. I know we've spoken a lot about COVID, but before we move into the next thing, I just want to say, is there any, I want to talk about any other pivots or clever ideas or innovations you guys have come up with, besides that. If you mentioned everything you've done, no problem. I just want to know if there's anything else we've missed. Mark, why don't we start with you?
Honestly, I'm very grateful that I'm on this podcast, to be honest, because my vision's got me here. So what I will say is that you guys got to make sure you visualize where you see yourself going. And I visualize myself on YouTube. And that's like an innovation that we have brought on to. I've been able to market myself on YouTube and gain followers off of YouTube Live. And it's been pretty amazing journey so far of just thinking positive and thinking forward, thinking, you know what I mean? And not allowing any obstacles to get in your way. Always, build above it and use that negativity to spring yourself up as positivity. We can always win. And I just, like I said, the innovation that I did was transfer onto YouTube. And I want to be on all platforms. I'm going to be on Facebook too, so you guys are going to see me on Facebook too. But this is just the beginning, guys. But anyway, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No worries. Queen, so have there been any other innovations that we haven't covered yet?
No, I'm liking the discussion flow that we have going on right now. The only thing I would say, just to add to what he's saying, if you're focused on something, you have to look at it like it's a GPS, and you put your focus in as if there was an address. So just stay on that route, no matter what U-turns you come across or exits that are blocked off or detours. Just stay focused on it, because in the end you'll be rewarded with your destination. So that's kind of like my outlook on life. I just focus on things like it's a GPS, and there's so many bumps in the road. There's so many things that happen to us that could discourage us or make us feel like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have put this in my GPS. Maybe this just shouldn't be my destination. So with COVID-19, like Jamie, I know you have challenges with your business. Like, don't look at it like like something that to make you quit. You just kind of like use that as a way to be a part of your story, because you're going to get to where you got to go in the end. Same with Mark, you're putting something together, you see it in your head. If you just stay focused on it and just keep pushing, then your destination that you set for yourself is going to eventually, turn up. So I tell everyone that, like, it's so many things that could take us off our path, and the people who eventually give up and don't stay on path, it wasn't for them, and they're just the people that move out the way for people like us to move forward.
Exactly.
Right. Awesome. Jamie, was there any other innovations that COVID brought on that we haven't covered yet from you?
No, not specifically, but kind of just to echo what everybody's saying right now. For me, I found a good basis in just researching and doing a lot of soul searching, taking myself away from all external influences, the internet, and the radio and the music and all that stuff. Whatever it may be for you, it's different for everybody. And then finding a goal and seeing where you want to be in your future. I know a lot of young people kind of struggle with 5, 10, 15, 25, 30, 40 years down the road. But throughout my career, obviously working in restaurants, you work with a large part of the population that's young, right? And in some circumstances, they aren't highly educated, not a lot of post-secondary education. Learning to inspire, learning to lead, and learning to guide people was something that I was never traditionally trained for, but forced into learning how to do. I can also be kind of dry and right to the edge. And like, I remember just thinking back right now, telling, young chefs and employees, and like, when they would complain about stuff, I'm like, you got to realize, and this is not to put you down, but you're just as insignificant as every other person on this world. But at the same time, you have to find your own worth, right? Because every other person on this planet is looking for something. So if you can take the time and do some soul searching, set some very long-term goals, understand that they might change, it makes the working process, it makes all the striving and the uncomfortable times a little bit more durable and palatable. I tell people the worst day working for myself is better than the worst day working for somebody else.
That makes sense. I mean, some people, not everybody wants to be their own boss, and that's fine. But some people just like, I know people who started their own business, and even on their worst day, they're like, I would never, ever go back.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for that. So we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to talk about something we've pre-discussed. We haven't spoken about something like this on the show before. So in light of the current climate, with what's been going on in the world with Black Lives Matter, I've asked each of you if there was a particular topic that you wanted to discuss. And so my strategy for that tonight is I'm going to take the topic that each of you asked me to discuss. I'm going to position that to you, and then I'm going to open that up to everybody else. And then everybody else can comment however they want, or if they don't want to, that's also cool. And then we'll take it from there. Does that work for everybody? That sound good?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Great. So Queen, you said you wanted to discuss Black history and business and how it affects women, particularly Black women like you.
Yeah. So basically, I just always felt like, because like Jamie, I'm half Jamaican. I actually grew up in Jamaica, so I went to school there. So, when I came here for school versus already being schooled in Jamaica, I always noticed that, like, the history, like with us in Jamaica, we have, our history is different. We learn about our heroes, Sam Sharp, Paul Bogle, Marcus Garvey, Nanny the Maroons. You hear about these people all the time, and it kind of gives you a sense of pride. Like the coat of arms in Jamaica is out of many one people. So it's like, that you're from a group. You know your history. Just in the coat of arms alone, that the land that you live was once a place where slaves were, and slave masters lived, and things like that. Your last name, which is your surname, is the first name of your slave master. So we know these things, and I just always had that, like, history that was built in me. When I came here and was learning history, it was very different, but I never questioned it. I just wanted to get an A. You know, I wasn't the type to be like, oh, why are we not learning what I learned? And, you know, for me, it was just getting a good grade. But recently, what's been going on with the Black Lives Matter and, you know, just kind of like from the police brutality and then it like shedding light on other issues and people feeling like, you know, racism took a turn and people are starting to now voice things that they've been feeling but just never had the space or the courage to bring attention to. And when recently all this happened, because I live in LA where we had like a lot of protesting going on and things like that, it took me back to like, you know, when I was a kid and the history and just like how it's so different in here in America versus where I grew up. And you know, the Black history that I speak of is it's not just American Black history or Jamaican Black history. And I will say this, I'm going to explain why I say this. Marcus Garvey is one of my favorite like historic figures. The reason why is because his mind, he was very like innovative, and a lot of people don't know that even though he was like a very questionable businessman, the ideas that he brought to the forefront and the pride that he put amongst Black people, it kind of like it wasn't even kind of, it was very revolutionary, right? So he started a group called UNIA. UNIA was the Universal Negro Improvement Association, and it was basically to get black people into the business mind of independence, starting businesses, investing. He had a shipping company called Black Star Line, and people were, you know, even though that kind of like was the reason he went to jail, because it was the mail fraud that kind of like got connected to that later on. But just the idea of him bringing Black independence and, you know, the revolutionary times that wasn't just for men, but it was also for women. The UNIA also had a segment where it was for women who had like pride to not just feel like they needed to be home and cooking, but they too were a part of the forefront, and they will celebrate and march on Sundays in Harlem and things like that. So that people don't speak about that much, because when Marcus Garvey was deported back to Jamaica, so was a lot of his ideas and his dreams. So there was a couple that was followers of Marcus Garvey, and the parents, I mean the couple was the parents of Malcolm X. So that was Earl Little and Louis Little, and they were Malcolm Little's parents. So they used to teach him about, like, you know, Marcus Garvey's teachings, and, you know, just like the revolutionary times that they lived in and the things that could have been done, but, you know, something so simple got him sent away, and the people lost hope. However, whatever Earl Little and Louis Little were teaching Malcolm Little, which later became Malcolm X, sparked what he today for. So it's like, it's okay. So he was sparked by Marcus Garvey's teachings, and Malcolm X is a really big figure in the American, Black American history here. So it's like a lot of the things that, you know, the Black historic figures do and we're doing and we're fighting for came from that revolutionary idea of independence. You can talk about the first Black millionaire, Paul Cuffey, who was, you know, probably 200 years before Marcus Garvey. However, he didn't have the voice, or he didn't have the sense of organization to bring people together like that. And then that's how the generation today has kind of like pushed forward, where you see independence, but a lot of people just don't know where it comes from. So I'm just giving that backstory to say that, you know, when a lot of people don't know that, and they kind of like don't understand you, you know? So it just kind of like never was a time to really, like, you can talk about it in your family, or I could tell my son these things, but if I go to a business meeting and they're like, oh, okay, well, tell us about you. Why do you do certain things, or what's your history? No one wants to hear about what I just told you. It's going to be boring.
I like that. That was very interesting. That was like in-depth, like historical, like facts. It was really nice, actually. Where do you get all this information? I would like to learn, to be honest.
I learned from my parents, and then like, you know, I just remembered my history. I just never had to talk about it. But now that there's a space for it, you know, a lot of people are confused. They don't understand their history, and they don't understand where a lot of, like, even if you take it back to Black Wall Street, the reason why, you know, the
Yes.
community don't have a lot of, we don't have stability is because those things were taken from us. They were destroyed, and
Yes.
the white man had to be in control, or else the power of, like, you know, commerce would have been handed over to the people that supported them the most. So I think it's nothing to fuss about. I just think it's something that people should learn about, and there's just not enough information.
And grow from. We need to grow from that.
And grow from it, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's history that shouldn't be erased. It should just be taught, and, you know, and it shouldn't just be taught to Blacks, but also to white people. Everyone should know the history of, you know, the African man, and how, you know, even when the UNIA sparked another idea of people returning to Africa, and there was 20,000 Black Americans sent to Liberia, which was the African country that was open to accept their people back. So it's like, there's so many things that, you know, we can go on and on and on and on about, but I was just, you know, I just wanted to share that because not knowing your history can put you in a place of where you don't kind of like understand what you're building from or what your purpose is. So if you're already being, you know, ridiculed for being a Black man, just imagine being a Black woman, because then you're not only being held back because of you being Black, but also because of you being women, because there's also women who are white who are not, you know, guaranteed some things in life. However, they're going to have more of a privilege than I would because I'm also Black. So that's nothing to be ashamed of, but it's just something to bring attention to and to talk about. And it shouldn't spark any anger. It should spark, you know, educating each other and informing each other about the things that, you know, people don't know about each other. So we can get to know each other, and we can get along better, and we can sympathize with each other, and we can help each other. So, you know,
Powerful stuff. It really is. Mark and Jamie, did you guys want to have anything to say on that?
I like what you were saying, but it's true. There's history that needs to be taught towards, as like young Black men and young Black individuals. They need to know this history so it could empower them in a way to want to have a better vision of the future instead of just the stereotype vision that is cast upon us through the music. There's different ways for us to see things, and we can build. I think we can build together as a community, and everyone could win too. It's not about who wants to be more superior to others. We just want everyone to be equally, like you know what I mean, like successful. Like we want to have the opportunity that everyone else has. Like, you know what I mean. I think it shouldn't be like that, and I thank God that I haven't really experienced it like that. The way how some of my other brothers and sisters has experienced it. I'm very thankful that I haven't experienced those pushbacks and discrimination the way how others have. And I'm very thankful, but I know that it happens. But I feel like the Black community does need to build upon the rich history that we have and take all the positive and build upon, like, you know, just rise up. Like, but it's going to take like years though, but I feel like it could happen. It's going to take years. They have to get deprogrammed from the system of all the gangster stuff, like all the, like, you can rap, there's nothing wrong with that, with music, but it's like, what is it promoting? What is it feeding the youth? Is it feeding the youth prosperity or poison? Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like, there's a whole lot of stuff, but I said it.
I like rap music, but I still love Black.
No, there's nothing wrong with rap music. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just what are they feeding the children?
Yeah.
The kids are listening to I want all the smoke, I want to do, like, it's just, we all get, like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a victim. I fall victim of it too. I got influenced. I'm not gonna lie. I got influenced by movies and rappers. I'm not gonna lie. But not everyone has that mature mindset.
You know, not to cut you off, but I am, because I think that's the power of history, because I can listen to any type of music. I could listen to City Girls. I could listen to, like, I love conscious music. I could listen to Dennis Brown, Bob Marley, Luciano, Sizzla, you name them. I could listen to them, but I'm also gonna listen to rap, like, you know, because of, I know my history, so it can't influence me to the point where if someone say shoot somebody in a song, I'm gonna go pick up a gun and shoot them. No, just like if a song says I kiss a girl and I like it, I'm not gonna go look for some girl to kiss her, you know. So it's like, I think, like, the content. So it's like, I think
not the youth them don't know.
Yeah, I think what we need to focus more on, instead of like condemning rappers who actually made a great living and basically were able to become a part of this wealthy like industry that they probably would, or become a part of like this wealth, like inherit some wealth that they probably would have never came across. I wouldn't want to condemn them for doing that. If anything, I would want to empower them to kind of like turn back and use their influence and use their voice for bigger and better things, because I feel like if you educate, and you don't have to retaliate, you don't have to fight, because people already know. Like a lot of people that are fighting and they're angry is because they don't know. Like if you ask me about history, Black history, I know a lot, but I also know that there's a lot of other people that don't. So I try to help in the best way I can, but I just, it just was never the space. Now that there is a space for it, I think that everyone on here, everyone who's watching, need to start with one Black historic figure at a time. Started with Marcus Garvey, and just kind of like learn about these people. I still have a lot of learning to do. I want to read up more on Martin Luther King. I know the general stuff, but I don't know every single thing about him. I don't know like what his parents' names are and things like that. So it's like, we have to like learn those things so we can kind of like make a better judgment for ourselves, and we're not influenced by things that people think we should condemn. People should be able to do whatever they want. We just need to educate each other.
You know what? You're absolutely right, and I didn't mean to condemn. Because at the end of the day, you're right. We should be inspired by them, and also, we should commend them or whatnot. But they're making money off of their own brother's demise. Do you know how people take their music very serious? People live that lifestyle very serious. But you're right. I appreciate. Tupac was one of my favorite artists of all time, right? But like, I feel like you don't have to be a gangster rapper to be appreciated or to make a sound. There's a lot of artists that don't.
But you also have to know the history of gangster rap. It's storytelling. These are people who actually lived and been through these things.
Yeah, and that's
so they're so they're connecting, like with other people who can relate. So it's like, I know the preference may not be rap music, but I
shouldn't say rap music. I say gangster rap, because there's rap music. Lil Uzi, he doesn't make anything about killing anybody. there's this.
Yeah. So I'm speaking on it because I have friends who are successful rappers, and I know their heart, and I know like what they've done for their communities, and their lyrics are just stories that they were able to tell, and they were able to create a platform. If everyone wants to go on there and sing Kumbaya, don't nobody want to hear that shit. Excuse my language. We want to hear some real stuff. We want to hear stories. Rap music is like movies. There's a lot of white people who've never been in Black communities who don't know what goes on in the hood, but they listen to rap music, and they get just like, just a peek of what happens in the west side of Philadelphia.
They think they know
what happened.
They think they know.
Yeah, just a peek is a peek, but it's opening, and believe it or not, it's sort of historic. I mean, because we're living in the times right now, it may not mean anything, but I can guarantee you 40 years from now, there are going to be kids reading books that are breaking down lyrics as to oppose, what does this mean? What does that mean? What did Biggie mean?
It's true though.
So so we have to look at everything that's going on as history. Again, my way of fighting back is education, educating people, myself, others, and just knowing that if I know something, then I'm more likely to be stronger in a subject matter versus being confused and angry.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing that. That was really great. Jamie, did you have anything you wanted to say before we move on to your topic?
Well, I mean, this might relate to what we're going to talk about too, but with what's going on in the world, and this is something I've told other people, this is nothing new. This is how I've seen the world like this for most of my life. I grew up in Toronto in a very multicultural melting pot, and I didn't have to deal with a lot of the stuff that my Black brother counterparts have to deal with the United States and Africa and a lot of other countries. I had to deal with the microaggressions, right? You're not like normal Black guys. You don't talk like a normal Black guy. You're nicer than I thought. But at the same time, I remember being a 16-year-old kid and coming home from work late at night and there's only two people on the bus, and the woman that gets off the bus runs away from me, right? I'm the guy who I've had cops pull guns on me because I had a little bit of weed in the park. And it's funny enough because that time I was with a white guy. It wasn't even like I was with a group of black guys, right? You know, just being watched in stores. All those things are the small realities that we live with and have lived with on a daily basis. I'm 37 and that's all I've known, right? The other side of it is dealing with the other portion of the population who doesn't have to deal with that, right? So now you're kind of in a state where you're hypersensitive and you're always gauging your responses and reactions to what's going on. Because when that white person says, oh man, hey, you made it here on time. I thought you would be on color person time, right? Now you got to gauge how you respond and react to that, right?
Yeah.
Or if this person says, hey, you got nice hair, how'd you get your hair like that? Then you got to gauge your response because you don't want to come off as an angry black guy because then they're gonna be like, oh, here's the angry black guy.
Or an angry black
right?
woman.
And even and it's even worse for the angry black woman because she is defensive, rightfully so, but she's not allowed to be defensive. She's not allowed to be strong, right? She has to be docile, sweet, and pretty and perfect, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
But that's just not the reality of it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But with what's going on in the world, I think it's kind of a sad long time coming. And just like anything, I mean, you work a muscle and it has to get uncomfortable and it has to hurt before it gets bigger, stronger, and changes. Like we all said, it starts with knowledge is power. For me, growing up in the Canadian school system, they didn't really teach you much about Black history outside of February, right? I was taught more about Black history through hip hop, rap music, and what you would call as gangster rap, more than any teacher had taught me, which drove me to learn more myself and go back and read the history. Dead Prez, Tupac, Biggie. Just to echo what you were saying, I was even having this conversation with somebody, and nobody would look at Quentin Tarantino and say he's doing a bad thing for making a hyper-violent movie. But then when Tupac raps about it, it's a terrible thing. You can't say bitches, niggas, and hoes. It's a terrible thing to say, excuse my language. But if Quentin Tarantino puts it in Django Unchained, it's millions, right? It's an uncomfortable reality we have to deal with, and change just comes from being uncomfortable. It's good that it's happening. I wish it had happened sooner and earlier. I'm sorry for all the lives that have been lost, but this is just history. Knowing history, education, knowing what happened is how we change it from happening in the future. And then at the end of the day, it all comes down to love, 100%.
Right. And that also, as you said, it did tie into what you wanted to discuss. I know you and I were talking about sort of changing the root cause of why these things happen rather than the individual ones on the surface. And so I know you want to talk about how we can try to combat the root cause and eliminate the root cause.
Well, I mean, with the root cause, it's very hard because there are older mindsets that are going to be very hard to change and almost impossible to change. I think John Mayer said it the best. He's like, one day our generation will rule the population. So we're just waiting for the world to change, right?
I want to answer that.
Yeah, go for it. I was about to say, like, just jump on that.
Yeah, so basically, like, I'm trying to understand what the discussion between you and him was, because the core, it goes back to education. Like, there's nothing to change. It's already written. Like, I think we just need to learn it and understand it. And it's the responsibility of everybody. People are acting confused. For those who do know, the people that don't know, they are confused because they don't know. So it's like the core, we are who we are, you know. Like, I'm Black. I love it. I love being a Black woman. Dreadlocks. I've been doing the Black Lives Matter just my life, you know, like my whole life is Black Lives Matter. So it's like, it didn't take, you know, like police brutality for me to understand it about me. It took the white man. It took those brands to finally say #Black Lives Matter, and that's another conversation, but I feel like it's being exploited to the highest of all levels if I really want to get conscious, because I feel like Black lives should have been mattered. It shouldn't have been something that we touch on today, or because we watch a 9-minute video of a man being, you know, basically strangled with the officer's knee on his neck. I don't think it should have been something that just now happened, but I'm not complaining because it's happening. I mean, maybe this was a part of the paradigm shift in conjunction with COVID-19, but the core that we speak of, or the core that you mentioned, it's people educating themselves so they could know where the core, why it was the way it was. You know, the people who have the older mindsets, they witnessed a lot of things that happened. So they know, like, okay, my granddaughter's not going to understand this, but I was alive when we had a march with Martin Luther King, you know, to get, you know, a Civil Rights Act passed 6 days after Martin Luther King's death. So it's like, yes, and Martin Luther King died, and 6 days later, something happened, you know? So, and you can look that up, but it's like, people have to know the core, they have to know the history. So it's like, it's so easy for people to say they want to change something or erase something, but I just want to, like, you know, not coming at you, Jamie, I just want to, like, you know.
No, I agree with you 100%. You're saying exactly right, because
yeah, I just want to.
If we don't know what happened, yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, I just want you to. I just want to redirect your wording, because to me, this live stream talk show is about educating. You know,
Yeah.
so I just want you to redirect it and just encourage our Black sisters and brothers to be educated. Zach, encourage your white friends and your people to be educated on Black history. Mark, same thing. Educate yourself on Black history and the Black American history and the evolution of rap and things like that. We have to educate ourselves. I grew up in a small island, but I consider myself very well rounded because I came from a group of parents who were about educating and learning something. So when I don't know something, I want to know about it, I want to learn about it, and then I feel comfortable to be a part of the conversation. A lot of people are a part of a conversation and they don't know nothing about because they're not educated about it. So it's almost like if I'm you know, I'm with a friend who's hurting and I'm like, oh, what's wrong? And I try to diagnose her. I didn't go to school for medicine. So how can I diagnose a problem that I wasn't educated on? How can I pretend that I'm a plastic surgeon, but I don't know how to do surgery? So it's like, same with this situation. A lot of people are saying Black Lives Matter, but they don't know how to even care. So they need to educate. And again, be on the topic of, you know, if you really think something matters, okay, Black Lives Matters, I want to see more scholarships and I want to see more kids being, you know, benefiting from these companies by hiring them and giving them opportunities. I want to see dollars that are being spent, which is $1.2 trillion, according to the reports back in 2018 of, you know, the Black community spending this kind of money on these big brands, going back and funneling into organizations that are helping the Black community. So that's, to me, means Black Lives Matter. And that, to me, is people understanding the core. Educate, come up with a solution, you know.
Right. Well, again, Jamie, thank you for sharing that. Mark, did you have anything to say on that topic while we're there?
No, these guys, they're saying what they're saying.
Okay, awesome. So then, let's move on to your topic, Mark. So Mark, I know you were feeling pretty passionate about what you and I were discussing. So why don't you take it away?
I'm
not gonna say anything. Just say it.
This is a safe space.
Like, it is a safe. I know she's not gonna say anything personally.
Okay.
I'm not gonna stress that there needs to be new visions. Black men need to see new vision. We get it. Like, you know, there's a program that's called the Projects for a reason. The government projects, it's the projects. And this is basically something, I'm not going to talk about that. It might be too deep right now to be talking about that.
No,
but there's a lot of systems.
That's the part. That's
why we're here.
That's the thing that I'm not doing anymore to myself.
Yeah.
Because I've done it for a long time, because we are always we always feel like it's not the right time. Oh, let me not do it because, you know, I don't want to go too deep. I'm ready to go deep. I'm ready to stab, cut, open. You know,
do it. That's it.
Deep. because it's going to help my friends. I have friends that do not look like me that I love so dearly, and they love me so much, and they would appreciate having a comfortable, loving conversation about things that Mark is calling deep. Mark is talking about systemic racism, you know, and it's not based on your color, but it's based on your location. It's based on where you live. So it's like, if you grew up in a district that was redlined and your zip code is zip code, the minute you put your address on an application, you're automatically denied. Why? Because you are in a district that has lower property taxes. Why? Because the value of your home or your neighborhood is very, very low. That's systemic racism. Just like the projects. If someone lives in the projects and they put that address with that zip code on the application, I don't care if their credit score is 750. There's a high chance that they're gonna have to prove a lot more where their money comes from. And there's gonna be a high chance that they won't be approved because they are in a system that goes based on where they live and who they are. So that's systemic racism. So the project that people live in is the project that's for the Black community, for low income housing. Someone mentioned the socioeconomical levels that are extremely low, and people were placed in that space because of the system that was created. Yeah, you can be free, run, go, no more slavery, but this is where you're gonna go and this is how we're gonna label it. So it's still going on.
Yep. It's a mental thing now, right?
Yeah.
I'm from a city, I don't know where you guys are from, but I'm from the Greater Toronto area, Toronto, Brampton, whatever. And there's a young man that just died recently. It was due to gangster rap violence. His name, rest in peace, his name is Houdini. That was his rapper's name. And he died the same day George Floyd got kneeled on. So that should tell us something. That should show us that Black lives matters. Yeah, when the cops are killing us, this should always matter, even when. Okay, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, everywhere. You're right.
Exactly, everywhere, because it's the same senseless death. Because I'm not no gangster. I don't, like, you know what I mean. But there's word on streets.
No.
There's word on streets, and you should know what these guys are killing each other, guys. Senseless things. Like, it's actually not even real beef. It's not like, oh, it's not like oh, you stole this from me. Like, these guys are beefing off of one person living on the other side of the street from the other person. And just because it was a thing back then that the other side of the street we had problems with, an OG told it to them, and now they had problems with friends that it had on the other side of the streets, and now there's quarrel that leading to death. And a lot of the senseless violence is the same exact senseless violence as a cop taking away a Black man's life. Both lives are precious. Both lives, both of them are kings. Both the gangster and both the innocent guy, they're both kings, and they both have purpose. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. These are souls that are getting robbed. These are men that could have been men of the future. These guys could have been, like, who knows, big real estate agent. Houdini could have been a big businessman. We don't know. But he never got to live to even see my age. I'm like, thank God I got to live to see my age. This guy's 21, like 20. He didn't even got to live to see past 25. And that's a big deal for young Black men. So I feel like both ways, Black men killing each other and also the cops killing us, is just as senseless. And we need to go against that type of violence towards each other, because it's exactly the same hating your brother because we don't know our history. It's a lack of history. It's a lack of, we're coming from a war, but there's no direction. So I'm just very fueled up about that, and I really want change in my community. I'm sad, man. I never met Houdini in real life, but I was so sad when the guy passed away. I'm like, that's another brother, man. That's another person, man. It's sad. People don't understand. It's very deep, man. And Toronto Star had the audacity to say, "Who made Houdini disappear?" Like, these guys think they're hilarious, but it's like they really think they're funny, but it's just like, it's so sad. It's another Black man's life. It's the same as important as George Floyd's life. It got taken away from him by senseless that could have been resolved with words. Like, you know what I mean? But that was just my 2 cents.
No, I totally agree, because like we lost a rapper recently, a lot of rappers, but the most recent one that really touched me, apart from like Nipsey Hussle and XX, was Pop Smoke, because he was really
man,
that I actually cried when he passed away, and that was another, like, you know, they don't know who did it, but it's very, very, very likely that it was a Black man.
Young man too, 20. That was a young man.
Yeah.
I'm older than that guy. That guy was 20.
Yeah, so again, it goes back to education. I bet you if a lot of them knew about Marcus Garvey, we'd be here holding hands and trying to figure out how to take down a white man. But we don't want to take down a white man. We just want to build a community, and we want to have independence and just move forward. Like,
Yeah.
I look at history. I don't know.
You don't want to take down the white man. I don't care about that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying there's some people that do. Because I'm not.
Some people do, but
I don't either.
But I feel like even that desire to want to take somebody down comes from a lack of education too.
And it's
right? Because I have hate for myself that was passed down from whoever, my father, my uncle, or whoever I was around, who was caught up in the system and didn't know better, and it just gets repeated. I'm pretty sure we see this in the small Black communities. We see this in the projects. We see this in the Native communities in Canada. It's the same history repeating itself over, and a lot of people who are uneducated will just blame it on the community, blame it on the individual, not understanding that there's a lot of things that are out of their control. And if you're born into a system that doesn't give a shit about you, the chances are you falling to the wayside are extremely high, right? A good book I would suggest everyone to read right now is what I'm almost finishing is Outliers. It's by Malcolm Gladwell, just talking about the story of success and how privilege plays a role in that. And he breaks it down on many different levels, talking from bankers in the early 1900s coming over to New York when they just started, even to modern day like Bill Gates and those guys, and how privilege plays a role, even down to sports and how hockey parents will plan their pregnancies so that they can have their kid at a certain time to give them the best advantage in the hockey season.
Whoa,
right?
I didn't even know that. Crazy.
But like, this is education, right? So even me earlier saying like rap music drove me, Dead Prez, Tupac, and all of these educated common sense rappers pushed me to go figure out what they were actually talking about. Because when I'm listening to the music and they're not repeating the same sentence over and over, and every word is different, and they're using words I don't understand, that excited me, that it got me enticed, and then I wanted to know more, which drove me to learn, drove me to education, which drove me to the unsettling reality of what, you know, systematic racism and slavery had done. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's about growth. It comes from love, and we have to now. And like, there's one thing I like to tell people, like, everyone can post a million memes and we can read a trillion different things, but filtering of knowledge is almost more important than just obtaining a obscene amount of knowledge and then doing something with that. So if we get smart and we learn this stuff and everyone's like, I know so many woke Black people that aren't really woke, that aren't making the changes. They have a Black Lives Matter t-shirt on, but they're still shopping at KFC, right? They're telling their friend what they should be doing with their life, but they don't have their finances in order. We vote with our dollars, and that's the fastest and quickest way to make change.
Right.
And I try to reflect on myself. Another thing I say is do it when it's fiscally responsible, because if you can't afford to do something and it's going to push you back farther, it just doesn't make sense, right? You got to be due diligent too. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I hope I'm not talking too much, but this, you know.
No, this is great. Like, just you guys, like, I'm reading the chat box here, and like everyone's absolutely loving this conversation. I mean, there's just
because it's real. Like, you cannot talk about Black Lives Matter and don't make people uncomfortable. It's even comfortable for me to share it with you here. This is new for me. Yeah. Normally, when a white man is in the room, or, you know, I kind of like just put a Band-Aid on certain things because you don't know how to address it, and there was never a space. But I'm not gonna do that. I want you to know. I want you to learn. I want you to be, you know, successful amongst Black people and be able to feel comfortable in the room with other Black people because you're educated and you understand their history. That's important. Just like with me, I want to be able to learn more about my Black history so I can understand why the Black community is where we are, or the things that we experience, why we think a certain way, why we're confused, why we're spread all over the place, you know, mainly because of slavery. And it's like, you know, we can take it back to even, you know, learning the Triangle Passage, you know, between the West Indies, the Ivory Coast, and the Spaniards, how they were transporting and doing all different things. And you're gonna know, oh, that's how Africans got to Jamaica, because Jamaica had Arawak Indians.
Yeah, that's Neos.
Jamaicans they're Indians. They weren't.
Yeah.
They came from Africa because of slavery, planting sugar, and it was Spaniards. Spaniards is not Spanish people. It's white people that speak Spanish that took them from their land and brought them to to Jamaica and other countries around in the West Indies. Same like what they did when they brought to, slaves to America, and the Indians were here too, the Native Americans. The difference between the natives and the Arawaks, the majority of them died. The Native Indians ran away. Some of them died. And then the ones that survived fought for what they believed in, and they have different laws now that protect them, here in this country. But these conversations, just getting back to what, I was saying, that these conversations should happen, and it should be casual. Like I would love to sit down and have a coffee, or well, I don't drink coffee. I drink tea. But I know, like
I too drink tea.
Yeah, I actually
drink coffee
now. But I would love to sit down and talk to Alyssa and we talk about each other's backgrounds and cultures in the most comfortable manner, where saying black is not offensive, saying white's not offensive, because we're learning from each other. We understand each other, and then we could defend each other. A lot of people, like my white friends, they don't know how to defend me because they don't know. And I'm with open arms ready to educate them and teach them.
That's sweet. That's good.
Yeah, we should educate each other. So it's like, for me, it's not about anger. It's not about being mad and fighting. And, it's about, and I say it a million times, it's about educating the black man, black woman, the white woman, the white man. And actually, let's take it back an inch. White people, like the older white men, they know the history. They don't want black people to know the history because they think it's going to bring a rise out of us, and we're going to get angry. Oh, you did this to my forefathers? Oh, hell no. I know no. You know what I'm saying? Like it could be that kind of conversation, but that's not what it should be. It should just us being educating and knowing how to move forward, in the space that we're in. And I'm in that space. I just want to know how to move forward. I could give a damn about a Black Lives Matter hashtag. I don't care about and I'm gonna explain why I'm saying this. I don't care about people feeling sorry for me or begging for freedom or begging for this or begging for that. Show me the money. If we can get the money to build our economies, if we can get the opportunities to abolish systemic racism, then that to me means Black Lives Matter. All the other stuff, I don't care about. I don't care that Reebok and all these other brands want to put up a hashtag. I don't care that they want to say Black Lives Matter. I don't give a damn.
Unless there's action.
Yeah, put millions of dollars into an educational program that will help people who would never probably had an opportunity, wouldn't have had an opportunity before now. So it's like, that to me means Black Lives Matter, so that's my outlook on it.
And that's actually something Jamie and I were discussing, and that's why I did what I wanted to do tonight, because it's one thing to post a million things, on your Instagram story and go rah, 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 but it's another thing actually, I wanted to create this platform exactly for this conversation, because again, like I can only offer, a certain amount of insight and, my opinions and whatever. But so I wanted to create this platform where you could come on and say firsthand, this is my experience. This is what I've learned. This is what I want you to learn, because it's important for everyone to know these things.
Yeah, it is. It's important for people to know these things. I don't want to keep on talking about, and not give Jamie and Mark a chance, but look, baby, I got a lot of information in this head, and not.
She does. I could tell.
A 5-hour talk show couldn't get me to finish the thought I thought of. But this is an amazing thing that you're doing, Zach, and I commend you for it, because it's important for people to say, well, you know what? I want to know, and I'm willing to do it in front of however many people are watching or watch later on a live stream where it's uncensored, no filters, there's no edits, and we can have a real conversation where people can understand, like, this is not an easy conversation. It's not. And it's never going to be easy. It's never going to be easy until people educate themselves.
Exactly. And it's like Jamie said, it's flexing a muscle that you need to work the muscle to make it stronger, but it's going to hurt for a while.
Right.
So Jamie and Mark, anything else you guys want to say on the topic?
No, she kind of just finished what I wanted to say in a way. That's her field, it seems like. I'm aware of it, but she's very educated in that field, and she's right. We all should be, actually. Yep.
What about you, Jamie?
Yeah, we all agree. We're in agreement, man. It all comes with education. It starts with love. It's not about chastising people for the past. It's about what we're going to do with the future and make the world a better place. Because we could sit here and argue for the next 30 years about this, but it's just about change. Change has to happen, and it takes baby steps. Right? We just got to do and keep building on it. And the worst thing I would really hate to see now, and I don't even want to speak on it, is that nothing to come from this. Is that winter comes, everyone goes back in their house, complacent, and then somebody drops a new album and some movie comes out and everybody just forgets.
Right.
I want it to be forever thing,
complacency. But I don't want it to be a forever thing. I want it to be a transition thing and a growth.
You know what I mean?
Right?
You know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Definitely.
Yeah.
But,
no, exactly.
Yeah.
It's all great to shout from the heavens and be really passionate. Like I said, rah rah rah, and post on your Instagram story, and then poof, 2 months goes by, and like and then you're on a new thing because your dog did a backflip or something.
Right, Zach. What do you think?
I think that we live in a world where you're right. The educational component isn't there. You're telling me so many things that I just didn't know about at all. And, I've learned a lot in my life about things that were connected to me because those are my background. So I learned about Jewish heritage. I learned about what happened in South Africa. And so I've learned about apartheid. So I've learned about things in that category, but I don't necessarily know about the American side or the Canadian side of it. I know how apartheid works. I know a lot about Nelson Mandela and, everything from things about up until he died. I'm hardly an expert, but I know a decent amount. And I think that at the end of the day, I mean, Jamie and I were talking about that. We both grew up in houses where it didn't matter what anybody was. They were just people. And you wouldn't judge anybody for being a particular race or for anything. You just was a person. And so when,
it's like that in Jamaica. You don't experience racism the way you experience it here in America. It's so different because it's beyond just like the color, but it's also like the culture and the neighborhood and stuff. But like you said, you grow up in a house and you understand that there are other kind of people, but it didn't really matter much because they have white Jamaicans, Indian Jamaicans, Chinese Jamaicans. We have all types of different Jamaicans, but they all speak patois. Like they all chat bad and we all talk the same. Like, you know what I'm saying, Jamie?
Yeah,
like,
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, like we all would speak the same English, the same patois, the same. So it's like you can walk down the street and bump into the ghettoest white man talking the deepest patois on the land, and he's a white man. Same with the Chinese people. Like you will bump into Chinese people who are Jamaicans, and if you didn't see them and heard them on the phone, you would think they look like me and Jamie. But then when you meet up with them, they're eyes chinkier than a man from China because their background is Chinese, but at the end of the day, they speak the language, they understand the culture, they want to go to a party and wind up on someone. So it's they understand so it's a bit different. But then here it's people oh, you talk white. I'm oh, I didn't know white had a language.
You don't talk white though.
Not me. I would hear people say that.
I've had that many times before.
But
I
still
mean,
gotta talk white though. It's just people's accents.
They actually had something similar like that.
Yeah, but Jamie, what were you saying?
No, but I've had definite situations like that, and as I was just saying that, I'm code switching is definitely a part of it, right? You talk one way with your friends, you talk one way with your parents, you talk one way with your homies, you talk one way you're talking to girls, right. And then you talk one way when you're applying for a job. So I mean, when people would see my name, Jamie Beeston, they call me on the phone, hi, how you doing? I'm such and such. They'd have an image in their head. And I never really, this was in my ignorance, I never really caught on to that. And then I'd come to the interview and they'd be like, oh, and they'd look up at me and they'd be surprised, oh, you're so tall. Oh, you're so.
That's the part that blows my mind. It's just those things that won't even come into my head. That the little microaggressions you were talking about. And I'm just who would, if you're going to think it that's another conversation, but to actively say that and think that's okay blows my mind. And if it's one thing where if it's something that was something that I personally found or that you personally found offensive, you said, hey Zach, you said this and I didn't like it, could you not? But to me, when they were saying some of the things you described, that's so obviously rude and
Oh, yeah.
racist. And it's like, why do you think that's okay? And that goes, I guess, Queen, what you're talking about, the educational component. One interesting thing, on a positive note, in terms of compatibility, was I have some Jamaican friends that I used to work with, and he was not actually talking about patois was. I'd never heard of it. And then one day he brought in something he brought in a pot of like a meat stew to share with everybody. And I said, what is it? And he said, it's goat. And I was like, oh, it's goat? And he's like, do you want some? I said, oh, I don't know if I can eat it because I only eat kosher animals. And the doctor was like, oh, goat's kosher. So I didn't know that. And then I learned a thing, and then it created this huge compatibility factor. And we're like, oh, guys, let's go get some goat. Where can we get some goat?
Yeah.
Yeah, education, learning things, cross-culture, multicultural. Like, that's why I love Los Angeles, because I have a lot of friends that are from different places, different races, and it's not to me, it's not like the race is not the biggest thing, culture is not the biggest thing, because we have like our own culture here. Like it's like who eats good versus who eats bad, who wants to try vegan food for who doesn't want to eat vegan food, and it's just like a kind of like a different culture, but still that does not erase the fact that I'm a Black woman or anything like that. It's just, again, there was never a space to discuss, oh, tell me about your background, I'm gonna tell you about mine, like it just was never, that space. So like I could totally understand how you would learn about, something of someone's culture just by simply,
Being
learning
around
about
them.
Just being immersed in them, experiencing them.
Yeah, just experiencing them. If we just allow ourselves just to be around people and experience them, then or spend time with them and not judge. It's like Jamie walked into that room and they were like, oh, if we just kind of like would just not have like prejudgments about people and allow our guards down, and then walk into a room knowing that, okay, I'm here to learn, I'm here to accept, I'm here to be free, I'm here to love. If we walk into rooms like that, there'll be so much more good things that happen versus bad. But no, people walk in the room and they're like, oh, they want a Black angry woman, I'm gonna be one today. Oh, I got time today. Or people will like set the tone before walking into something, and they're negative, and they create that negative vibe because people can feel it. And instead of people embracing it, they're running away from it, and then they don't understand. So, I just feel like immersing ourselves in other people's cultures and lives and just learning from them naturally also is a good thing, and not, running away from it. Just like the next day you want to go buy goat all of a sudden and do different things.
Yeah, it tasted great.
Yeah, if we want to learn from, I'm vegan, so I don't eat goat, but I understand what you're, in Jamaica we call it ital. So, I'm ital. But, it's important for us to just like learn from other people and kind of like submerge ourselves in people's lifestyles, and and just like you walk out with goosebumps sometimes when you learn about another person's culture, and it's like refreshing because you're like, damn, I didn't know that, and we can love each other and be so different. Like it's such a refreshing feeling when you can genuinely like somebody for who they are and not because of the color of their skin. It's like it feels good. So I don't know what the hell people be going through when they're like so angry and don't want to like learn about something or learn about other people. And I think it goes back to what we were saying. They're not educated.
Exactly. And I don't want to cut anybody off, but we could talk about this for hours and hours and hours. And so, but we do need to eventually call time. I do want to still do the Q&A. Let's see some of the questions we got back up here. But thank you, everybody. That was really, really, really great stuff. You can read in the comments. The comments are going nuts. Everybody's loving this conversation. So thank you for sharing everything. I know it's some very heavy stuff, and it's some things that people are not used to hearing so much. But again, I really appreciate you saying and being here and talking about these things so that we can learn, we can be better, and we can make everything better. Because I think ultimately that's what all the sane people want, is just to make things better.
Yeah.
If they don't want to make things better, we don't need to talk to them. Okay, so Q&A styles. Let's see here. So Jamie, Alyssa in the kitchen, she wants to know what are some of your favorite things that you make?
Seafood. If I like, this is so hard. Everyone asks me this question and they always expect, oh, spaghetti and meatballs, or butter poached lobster tails, and it's so impossible. I mean, I've been cooking so long that it's almost even when I just cook at home, like I can cook things for people and I'll do what I do: jerk chicken, rice and peas, oxtail, and ackee saltfish spring rolls, or even create different dishes. We can do stuff like that. But I definitely do a lot of experimenting on my own at home, just trying things out, right? Always trying to push that envelope because I'm always looking for something new, right? I've had this conversation with many people lots of times, just, what's your favorite dish and all this stuff. But I go, it's just whatever catches me. My favorite thing to cook, though, if I was to surmise it, I guess I would say I do like seafood. I love a nice fillet, salmon. I love frying a piece of snapper. And weird enough, I really like cooking like garlic green beans. I don't know.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Garlic green peas?
The green peas, simple as hell, nothing too
It
crazy.
sounds good, actually.
But like, I mean, I'm all over the place. Like lobster tails are fun. I think crab tastes better, but you name it, I enjoy it. I hate tripe. So if that makes sense, no tripe. I don't want none.
You don't like tripe?
No, I just said it like 3 times. I don't like it.
That depends. I know what you mean. Everyone's entitled, yeah.
What's it called?
Yeah.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with simple garlic peas. I mean, Gordon Ramsay, every time on Kitchen Nightmare comes in, simple, rustic, yeah? Come on,
That's it,
simplify
right?
the menu.
Simple is always the best. It's always the best.
Queen, Alicia wanted to know what made you decide to move to LA?
Oh, so LA was, again, I spoke about it in the beginning. There was an opportunity with Slip and Slide, which is it's a record label. They signed like Trina, the rapper, Trick Daddy. So they have like a very nice historic base, like, in Miami. And they had like a satellite office in New York and an artist here in LA. And I came here in 2012 to develop this artist, but then I ended up staying because there were so many other opportunities around, like, being in LA. And I moved from Philly, so I was ready to go. I love Philly, and we have some amazing rappers from Philly that I'm really cool with that are like big time now. But like everyone else.
Will Smith?
What'd you say?
Will Smith?
I met him in Philly, but I'm not friends with him. No.
Not with that attitude.
No, I didn't hear him, but yeah. So basically, like, coming here, it was just it was just refreshing. So, and I stayed, and there's a lot of eye-opening opportunities that I came across and wanted to achieve. So I'm still here 8 years later.
Okay, amazing. And Mark, well, the question for you. So when you out and you're deciding, what kind of what trends to focus on, what's something right now, what's like a fashion trend that everybody should really pay attention to?
The awesome thing is the awesome thing with fashion, it's always revolving, and there's always something new, but you have to catch the market. I follow a lot of pages. Like, I always catch the trends, so I always follow a lot of pages, and I know what's the next thing that's going to be kind of big this year, which is going to be like, it's like pants, but it's designer pants, but it's like an art piece. Like, it's like an art piece. So pants with a bunch of different graphics are going to be pretty big coming this summer. I most definitely could see it happening, because there's different ways you can do designs on pants. It's just you're gonna see a lot of designs on pants. Just look out for that. Let's look out for that. Yeah.
I was kind of hoping you would just be like, pants. Pants are the way of the future.
Well, yeah, look out for that. Creative pants. It's gonna be a big deal. Creative pants.
Awesome. I'll be on the lookout for that. So I think we're gonna stop it there. I think we had an absolutely incredible dialogue. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I looked up, we had about 111 comments out in the chat. So this is some really phenomenal things. I mean, thank you to Sasha. Thank you to Alicia. Thank you to Lexus and Cheetom. I hope I'm saying your name right. Alyssa, Shakia. Thank you, Marta. Everybody for commenting, and just they really, really were thoroughly engaged with the entire conversation. This has been a very unique episode, and I want to thank everybody for being here, for doing that. And before we go, I just want to give you guys one more opportunity to plug yourselves and your businesses so people can follow you and come check you out. And we'll start with Jamie.
So, you know what? I'm Jamie, Chef Jamie. I've been cooking my whole life. You can check me out on Instagram at Barbacoa Boyz with a Z. I'm also on Facebook. You can check on my page. I'm always posting new stuff, looking for things to do. I'm looking for people to cook for. Click, eat, share. We're going to be launching a YouTube channel very shortly. I got some great ideas that, you know, I definitely want to look for a different angle instead of just cooking and putting stuff on there. So it's going to be very, very interactive, doing videos with people, cooking with stuff that you just have on hand, and just all about cooking and eating and sharing.
That sounds excited, man. I'll subscribe to your channel. Make it fun. That sounds excited, man.
That's all it's about, man.
Definitely. Queen, how do we reach you? How do we find you?
So my Instagram is I am Queen Angel. That's all across the board. Twitter, Facebook, and then Hustlers Feast is Hustlers with an S and Feast. So that's HUSTLERS, then Feast, FEAST, and that's all across the board as well. That's branding. Keep the names the same.
Keep the names the same. Love it.
That's it. Exactly.
And Mark, how do we reach you?
So you guys can follow me right now. I make content on IGTV, but I will be expanding. Pardon me?
I said, you say right now one more time. What is it?
Because that's what you used to do live. And when I tell people to follow me right now, they follow me right now on live. So Prince Mark Anthony, follow me right now. We dose you with content, very entertaining. Our show is called Copper Drop. We teach you what clothes we think you should buy. We style them for you, review stores for you before you go there, so you know beforehand what you want to buy, and we tell you what to buy in a way. But check us out right now.
Which one is it? Which one is it? Is it Prince Mark Anthony with the 0 followers?
No, it's the one with the 900 followers.
Of course not. How dare you?
There's one with 0. That's my other page, but that's not being active. It's Prince Mark Anthony.
I'm like, I'm not following that. There's no content.
Follow Prince Mark Anthony. You see it?
Hey, Mark, I got an idea. Follow her first, and then she'll follow you back.
Yeah, even better. So Prince Mark Anthony, MARK, no C, and Anthony. So Prince, like, you know, royalty. Prince Mark Anthony.
Look, okay, so follow me on Queen Angel, and I'm gonna. I would love to follow your journey. So when you follow me, I'll follow you back. It's I am Queen Angel. And
how did he find me already and you didn't?
I can't look. It's all these different ones.
How?
Maybe it's geolocated.
Wrong. That's weird.
How did you spell Anthony?
Well, maybe Zach, you can send it. Do you have everybody's Instagram?
I'll send it to
you. Right?
You're all on
the way I see it on here. ANTHONY.
Oh, okay. New idea. On my Instagram story, his page is tagged there. Maybe you blocked her.
No, I don't even know your page.
A likely story.
No, it's not.
That's not even me. That's that guy. What?
Exactly.
Who are these people?
This is how my page looks like. I don't know if you can see it.
It's
all black.
Oh, never mind. My sister sent it to me.
It's all blacked out.
Okay, we found it.
We found it. There you go. Congratulations. I'll follow you back.
And it's follow right there.
I'll follow you back right now. I'll follow you too, brother. I'll follow everybody.
Teamwork.
And,
I don't even care about my personal page. Just follow Hustlers Feast. Is again, I spelled it. It was HUSTLERSFEAST. That's Hustlers Feast, and it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr. Everything is Hustlers Feast. HustlersFeast.com, HustlersFeastUniversity.com. Everything it's that same name.
Awesome. Fantastic. So, and thank you, everybody. If you guys want to see the show on Tuesday, it's the Father's Day special. Spoiler alert, my dad's going to be on the show. It's an all-dad affair that day. That sounds weird. It's the father. It's lots of dad. It's the Father's Day special on Tuesday.
Oh, okay. All right.
So we're going to have my dad and 2 other entrepreneurs who are also dads. And
that's epic. I'll tune in.
Yeah, tune in. Everybody tune in. Please follow Instinct Marketing on Facebook and Instagram. Please do hit the share button on the live stream here. Super helps. I definitely, this conversation in particular, I want to get in front of as many eyes as possible. I think it's super important. Queen, real quick, Alicia wants to know, do you take international clients?
Depending on like what the project is and what like what they'll have me do, especially with the time being so weird. Yeah, I do. I actually I just got an international client 2 days ago, so I'm going to be working with them in August. And yeah, so I take international clients.
Okay, perfect. So Alicia, send her a message. We've been going for an hour 45. That is way longer than we've ever gone before. So this is a huge achievement.
This is about Black lives. That's why.
Important.
Exactly. So maybe we'll do this again, and we'll keep the entrepreneurial stuff for the other show, and then just have the entire dialogue.
Yeah. She's very insightful, Angel. Seriously, thank you for your knowledge. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Sometimes it rubs people the wrong way, but you know.
And listen, it's so interesting you say that, because you were like, saying it was nice that I wanted you to come on. You didn't have to put on the Band-Aid. And I'm like, I've never been in a situation where I would ever want somebody, as long as they weren't like being actively rude and like trying to like say things or whatever, but like you're just telling like how it is, like talking about education and talking about your experiences. So if anybody wants to come on and just talk about something like that on this platform, that I'm always happy to host them and let them tell their story.
We appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys accepting my insight and, not making it an argument, but making it insightful. And I learned a lot too, so thank you.
You're very welcome. In fact, Jamie, you reminded me of a story about when we're talking about being woke. I remember once I was having a conversation with somebody, and I said to them, listen, I'll have a conversation with anyone about anything as long as it's an open-minded discussion. Everyone's being respectful, like nobody's being rude about each other. And the one person, she went, oh, so look at you making all the rules.
Because you're woke.
I'm like, okay, we don't need to talk anymore.
Yep.
It's been pretty okay talking to you. I'm going to go do anything else in the world now. Anyway, as much as I'd love to keep this going forever, we do have to say goodnight. Thank you again to everybody for being on the show. Thank you for everybody out there for watching. I'm Zach Ignitsky. This is Instinct Marketing Presents Business Casual. We'll catch you again on Tuesday and talk to you guys later.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.